Blistering and sweltering in the summer heat. Well, that's what this cold open is for. You're welcome. Hello, I'm a comedian because I do funny voices. What's that? You, the viewer, can do funny voices too? Well, that may be, but people like my funny voices, though this glance into the B camera might imply that that isn't the case. What's that? People do like your funny voices. All right, pipe down Pagliacci, nobody likes a show-off. If you are one of the few people who are incapable of doing a funny voice, then no help is at hand puppet from swazzle.com, a real website that for some reason doesn't sell swazzles, which are also a real thing. It's like going to google.com and finding out they have no Googles to hawk. If it's in the name of the website, then perhaps, maybe, make the namesake front and centre. That's the way to do it. But whether you have the funny voices or not, this isn't about you. This show is all about me, serving you with entertainment. There's no point in you trying to entertain me, as I cannot be entertained, unless it's this. Yeah, the focus groups came back with their report and they said I needed to pepper the video with distracting bullshit in order to keep engagement up. A bit less of the ponderous and extremely clever literary humour delivered in monologue, and a bit more custard pie in the face. I am not going to put a custard pie in my face for this video because that really would be beneath me. I have standards. Though this glance into the B camera would imply that in fact I don't have any standards at all. That's right, in an effort to keep you constantly bamboozled and distracted, I'm continually changing my location and costumes. I'm just like Contra, an 8-bit game for microcomputers that led you to believe it had some radicability when in fact it had its tongue so far up the arse of the establishment that it could taste their thoughts. Quick change of subject to keep you mesmerised in the glamour? I don't know if you've ever watched the mainstream news for more than 24 hours in one sitting. So began one of the comedy bits from the late great Bill Hicks, and I think if Bill Hicks was alive today to see the news now, then he wouldn't be dead, which would be good news, and that's more than I can say for the unending, unrelenting, rage-inducing, despair-producing news cycle that I'm caught in the spin cycle of. Look, I just want to watch Doctor Who in as passive a way as I possibly can and be grateful there's new episodes. Well, not now because Russell T Davies, boo, hiss, for some reason, ruined it for everybody. Well, not me. I'm sorry to see you go, Mr. Davies. There'll be no more space fart jokes now. I like those. But the grinding, grating, misinformation infusion, overload confusion news cycle is something that makes me extremely angry. And what makes me even angrier is that it's designed to make me extremely angry by virtue of presenting me with horrible events that I'm powerless to prevent or do anything about. Oh, they've got me good, dear viewer. I have indeed been angry, but it's a clever thing they've done. They? Who's they? The cunts, our overlords, the Richie Riches and their sycophantic lapdogs, government, media, the state in general. That's who they. But being angry is only part of the equation, isn't it? After you've maxed out on impotent rage, then, inevitably, and by design, comes the news fatigue. Look, I don't care if the BBC is putting Doctor Who out to tender. They've messed around with it so much they might as well just completely flux off. Fatigue of world events is a real phenomenon. I can still say phenomenon, but I suspect if I go for a third attempt, it will turn to mush in my mouth and I won't be feeling so smug then. But fatigue is a real thing, didn't chance it. And the conundrum one faces is it ethical, for a time, to turn my face away from the horrors of the internal machinations of the BBC drama department, or do I put my psyche in jeopardy and stare into the twisting morass of darkness and filth, suffering and deprivation, disaster and despair, like when I watched Jimmy Carr. If you don't know who Jimmy Carr is, then doesn't his name sound like he'd be a televangelist? So if you're unfamiliar with him, then just know that, like most televangelists, he works a massive stage and crowd directly in the service of Beelzebub. You might be wondering why I'm banging on about the news. I watch the news and it's eating my time to such an extent that I now consider that the consumption has reached a detrimental degree. Let's face it, 1 degree is detrimental. Work, sleep, sit on my bony ass watching slop on evil YouTube. Is this the life I envisaged for myself? So what do I do with my time when I'm not at the paid job, the factory where I work making slugs by removing the shells off of snails? That's right, I'm partly responsible for the terrestrial gastropod mollusk housing crisis and have significantly contributed stock to the small munitions industry. But when I'm not at the paid job, what am I doing? I'll tell you what, I'm sitting on my hands watching slop on evil YouTube while sucking down shitloads of cannabis that seems to have very little stone in it, downloading ever more extreme pornography. I'm currently enjoying artificial pollination videos. Fwah, show us your stamens. I'm eating Weetabix and drinking monster drinks like some sad sack basement dwelling video game addicted trend racist who mistook poor anger management skills for personal growth. My kidney beans hurt so bad. Please kill me. But I watch the events unfolding in the world as relayed by talking heads on evil YouTube, my jaw agape, arms folded. I can scarcely believe my eyes. I can scarcely believe my ears. I can scarcely believe my proprioceptors as my body slips into St. Vitus dance in a vain attempt to escape the torment I volunteered for. You tell yourself that it can't possibly be real, that you're dreaming all the bullshit. But some things have to be known, and that's what makes the suffering so sweet. To be frank, but really, what can be known in a post-truth media landscape when... Hello? What's a swazzle? Well, 2 hours later. And it's not bloody important to the narrative, so I wouldn't worry about it. How did you get this number anyway? You'd be forgiven for being fatigued by bad news. It's a well-worn path that one death happens and we're all like, oh, that's just awful, heavens above. But get beyond a handful of deaths and tragedy becomes mere numbers. You get used to it. That's how I can get away with firebombing the local Amazon depot every Friday night. At first they were like, oh no, that's just terrible. Firebombing the warehouse, but warning all the workers first. But now on a Friday it's like, where's that bloody Patrick? He's late again, probably waiting for the middle of shift change at the fire station. What a bastard. But the question I ask of the news these days, and since the 1990s, is it? No true comedian, who is Scottish, and a man, would entertain the idea that the mainstream news media is anything other than propaganda, blatant lies, and weather, especially now as the mainstream news has wholly embraced the notion of post-truth. I am incompatible with post-truth, as it drives me to distraction, so I consume my news through third parties who are angry about things on my behalf. I wonder why I feel the need to stay mis- and or disinformed when I've consistently stated that I want to discuss ideas not related to the news cycle. Fear of missing out? Will absence of current events make the heart grow fonder of unremitting horrors beyond human comprehension? It's been 2 years, Betty, since I've seen the news, and I need my fix of genocide. Turn on Al Jazeera. I'm sure Israel is genociding somebody live right now. Sitting on my arse, desiccating my kidneys, turning my brain to mush by watching slot media largely produced by people I have no respect for, while sitting under a mushroom cloud of pot smoke in an increasingly vain attempt to keep myself from exploding in a fit of wrath. Essentially, dear viewer, I have been doing bugger all, and has a devil found work for me? Has he bollocks? Well, I suppose I did write this. You know what that means, right? This whole thing is devilcraft. That's all I can be asked to write for this one. Before I go, I'll leave you with a tip since I'm not producing as much material these days. Take Rehypnol before starting an episode of the Polemics so that you can enjoy it and then subsequently forget everything about it, but then watch it again and again and again. And on that nightmare scenario, I bid you good night.